The shrieking of security alarms tore through Arya Voss's sleep like a plasma cutter through hull plating. She jolted upright in her bunk, heart hammering. Instincts screaming that the station was under attack. Her hand flew to the emergency panel beside her bed. But before she could activate it, a small, furry body landed on her chest with surprising weight. "Kiro," Arya gasped, staring down at the Veltharian cub who had somehow infiltrated her quarters. His large, luminescent eyes, 6 of them arranged in 2 neat rows, blinked at her with what she'd learned to recognize as contentment. His crystalline fur shimmered in the red emergency lighting, and his 4 arms were spread wide as if to shield her. "Human Arya safe now," Kiro chittered in his broken standard. "Kiro make protection zone. No disturb." Arya's mind raced. The Veltharians were the station's newest arrivals, a species whose cubs were notorious for 2 things: their fierce protectiveness of those they bonded with, and their complete lack of understanding about galactic security protocols. She'd been assigned as cultural liaison to their delegation 3 weeks ago, and apparently, she'd made more of an impression than intended. The door to her quarters hissed, someone attempting override. It held. Arya's eyes widened. "Kiro, what did you do?" The cub's chest puffed with pride. Kiro learned human-computer language. "Make Arya quarters into sanctuary home. Treaty-protected zone. Nobody enter without Arya permission." He paused, tilting his head. "Also, bring friends for guard duty." That's when Arya noticed them. Tucked into every corner of her modest quarters were at least a dozen other Veltharian cubs, all watching her with those multiple, unblinking eyes. Each one held what appeared to be improvised weapons, a plasma wrench here, a gravity stabilizer there. One even clutched a cafeteria ladle like a ceremonial blade. "Oh no," Arya whispered. "Oh no, no, no." Her comm unit exploded with chatter. Station Commander Thex's voice, a deep rumble that made her walls vibrate. "Miss Voss, you have precisely 30 seconds to explain why your quarters are now broadcasting diplomatic immunity codes, and why there are 13 Veltharian cubs refusing to let security anywhere near your section." Arya scrambled out of bed, Kiro still clinging to her shoulder. "Commander, I can explain. The cubs are claiming you invoked the right of sanctum keepers. Do you have any idea what that means?" She didn't. But judging by the way every cub in her room had suddenly straightened to attention, their fur bristling with ceremonial significance, it was clearly important. "Human Arya showed Kiro kindness," the cub announced, his voice taking on a formal tone that seemed far too ancient for his young body. "When Kiro scared of big ship, of strange foods, of cold metal places, Human Arya brought warm cloth from Earth home, shared sweet food called chocolate, told stories of Earth Sun and Earth Moon." His 6 eyes glistened. Human Arya made Kiro feel less alone in big scary galaxy. Arya felt her throat tighten. She'd only done what felt natural. The cubs had been terrified. Separated from their parents during diplomatic sessions. Stuck in a sterile station that must have felt like a prison. She'd grabbed her spare blanket, raided her personal chocolate stash, and spent her off hours keeping them company. "Among Veltharians," Commander Thex's voice softened slightly, "the right of sanctum keepers is sacred. When a stranger shows unconditional kindness to the young, those young may declare that stranger's dwelling a sanctuary. It's legally binding under Galactic Treaty Section 47, subsection Delta." "You're joking." "I am not. Your quarters are now, technically, a diplomatic zone. The cubs have filed proper paperwork in flawless standard, I might add, claiming you as their sanctum keeper. You're essentially an honorary Veltharian parent until they reach maturity, or you formally release them from the bond." Arya looked around at the 13 pairs of multiple eyes, watching her with absolute devotion. Kiro nuzzled against her neck, purring a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "How long until maturity? For Veltharians?" 6 months. 6 months of cubs with diplomatic immunity living in my quarters? Well, no. They don't have to live here. But they do have the right to declare it protected territory and visit whenever they perceive you to be in danger. stressed, or in need of companionship. They also have the right to defend you from any threat, real or imagined. The commander paused. Miss Voss, what triggered this? What made Kiro think you needed protection? Arya thought back to yesterday. She'd been exhausted after a brutal 14-hour shift mediating a trade dispute. She'd stumbled back to her quarters and maybe, possibly, had muttered something about feeling like she was under attack from all sides. Oh, she said quietly. I might have used some unfortunate metaphors around literal-minded cubs. A sound that might have been a laugh crackled through the comm. Humans and their figures of speech. Very well, Miss Voss. I'll stand down the security teams. But you need to explain to your new cubs that security alarms are for actual emergencies, not for proclamations of sanctuary. Understood, Commander. As the alarms finally silenced, Arya sat back down on her bunk. 13 Veltharian cubs immediately swarmed her, creating a protective circle, their crystalline fur forming a shimmering barrier. Kiro remained on her shoulder, his small arms wrapped around her neck. Kiro, she said gently, I'm very honored. But you can't take over station security every time you think I'm in trouble. But humans fragile, Kiro protested. Arya human especially. Work too hard. Forget eat. Stay up too late doing reports. He tapped her forehead with one small paw. Forget. Take care of self. Arya blinked. The little cub had been watching her, learning her patterns, worrying about her. In trying to help them adjust to life in space, she'd become something precious to them, someone worth protecting. Okay, she conceded, feeling warmth spread through her chest. But there are better ways to help. How about instead of security alarms, you cubs remind me to eat and sleep? You can still protect me. Just quieter? Quieter? Kiro's eyes brightened. Kiro can do. Make schedule. Bring food. Enforce sleep time. He paused. Still keep sanctuary status though. For emergencies. Deal. As the cubs began chattering excitedly about their new duties as Arya's personal wellness team, she caught her reflection in the darkened viewport. She looked ridiculous, hair disheveled, covered in alien cubs, standing in quarters that were now, apparently, a diplomatic zone, but she was smiling. Humans, she thought, had gone to the stars expecting to find wonders and terrors, allies and enemies. What they hadn't expected was to find family in the most unlikely places, to discover that sometimes the greatest strength wasn't in weapons or warships, but in simple kindness, in sharing a blanket and chocolate with scared children far from home. Her comm beeped. Commander Thex again. Miss Voss. The Veltharian delegation wants to thank you personally. Apparently, their cubs haven't been this happy or secure since leaving their homeworld. You've done more for diplomatic relations in 3 weeks than we've managed in 3 months. Just doing my job, Commander. No, Thex replied. You did something better. You were human. As Kiro and his friends settled in for what was apparently now their daily wellness check on their sanctum keeper, Arya Voss realized that this ridiculous, chaotic, beautiful moment was exactly why humanity belonged among the stars. Not because they were the strongest or the smartest, but because they had an unfortunate habit of adopting anything that needed love, and an even more unfortunate habit of being adopted in return.